Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Breakout Bag Lunch, and in today's video, I want to discuss 3 specific steps you can take to prevent blowing your account or just increase your profits in trading. These 3 minor changes include only taking 1 trade a day, setting a maximum loss limit and personal daily profit target in your brokerage account, and using OCO or one cancel the other orders. I'm just going to start with a brief introduction. But first, if you found this video helpful to your trading, please consider liking the video and subscribing. It would help me a lot. Thank you. Now let's get started. A reason a lot of traders don't make money in the markets is due to poor risk management. Of course, risk management isn't the only reason why. To make consistent profits, you also have to have a good understanding of how markets work and a good intuition. But lack of control, emotional trading, and just poor risk management in general is a very big reason why a lot of people end up with huge losses. There are many different types of trading strategies, but risk management is key. If you've ever read any of the Market Wizards books, which I recommend, by the way, you will see that there are so many different ways to make money in the financial markets, whether it's in stocks, options, futures, whether you are swing trading or scalping. There are so many different types of approaches. But what I noticed is that every one of the traders that were interviewed in the Market Wizards books almost always mentioned a risk management. So risk management is extremely important. I cannot emphasize that enough. If you don't have proper risk management, you can make all the money in the world. You can make millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, and still lose it all. And that has, in fact, happened many times in the past. So again, risk management is key. Poor trading habits can be fixed by making a few small changes to your trading process. What I'm about to recommend isn't going to be a miracle for poor trading or unprofitable trading, but these simple changes can make a huge difference between not getting payouts, blowing funded accounts, not passing your evals, and being able to reliably make money trading. Ways I'm going to show you to manage your risk can be applied to a variety of trading strategies. And we're going to start with my first piece of advice, and that is take 1 trade a day. And the reason why I recommend this is just based on my personal experience. If you've watched any of my trade recap videos, then you may have noticed that during my really bad days, I'm taking a lot of trades. And when I do well, I'm actually taking a few trades. If you look at my performance compared to these 2 weeks, you'll see that in the first week, I'm doing a bunch of trading and losing money. But in the following week, I'm actually taking way fewer trades and I'm making more money. And the reason for that is because overtrading is easy on red days. Another phrase that's used is revenge trading, right? You start your trading day and you end up with a big loss and you think, well, all I need to do is just look for another great trade and I'll make back that loss. But what happens is that you end up taking trades that you shouldn't take. You're getting more careless and reckless and you just end up blowing your account eventually because you start on a spiral of just bad trades after bad trades. And that's partially what happened to me on that really ugly Friday that I made a video on. To go ahead and watch that video if you want to know exactly what happened that day. I know this is something that Ross Cameron also mentions for beginners, but honestly, this can work regardless of your level. Like I mentioned, one trade a day, OTAD, prevents overtrading. One trade a day forces you to look for higher quality setups. If you know you're only going to take one trade, you probably won't try to take one that you don't feel confident about. What you really want to do in trading is look for A plus setups, as you'll often hear in the trading community. So one trade a day kind of forces you to just look for that one really good setup. You can actually enforce this on Top Step X. I'm not sure if other brokers offer this feature. I was doing some research and it doesn't look like that's the case, but I know that on Top Step X, at least, you can actually put in a limit on the number of trades you take a day, which I personally have set at 2 at the moment. Usually, honestly, lately I've been just looking for one. I've been a one and done type of guy in the markets. Now, if you're using Top Step X, I recommend that you implement this because I think it's a great feature. But if not, there's a workaround that I will discuss a bit later in the video. Take one trade a day. OTAD is a pretty good strategy. Now, you might be thinking, well, if I take one trade a day, how am I going to get a lot of practice trading and understanding the markets? Well, just because you take one trade a day in a live account or on eval, that doesn't mean you have to stop trading necessarily. You can continue trading in a sim account, right? If you want to practice scalping, you can just take one trade in a live account and then practice on a sim account for the next trades and see how you do. Eventually you might want to take more than one trade a day, but I think that should be something that you should wait to do until you have some more experience and confidence. Even then, you can just keep doing one trade a day. It's honestly kind of relaxing compared to taking 10 or 20 trades. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience. Okay, now let's get into MLL and personal daily profit target. MLL is the maximum loss limit that you can set. This is probably the most common type of risk management setting that you'll see on all the brokerages, and it's one that's most commonly discussed. I personally have my MLL set to $400 on my Top Step X account, and that's working out pretty well. I haven't had that limit set yet, knock on wood, but in the event that I'm having a really bad trading day, it's there. Now, this also adds redundancy with OCO orders, which I will talk about in the next slide. Basically, OCO orders will allow you to have a defined risk and reward. Okay, if your broker does not offer max trade limit, which I believe most brokers do not, if you know a broker that does offer the max trade limit, please let me know in the comments because I'm actually pretty curious. You can use a max profit instead of struggling with over trading. Now, personally, I'm not too crazy about a max profit because I feel like, the profits can vary a good amount every day. But if you're really struggling with just taking one trade, then you can set a max profit just based on maybe an average of how much you usually make in a day. So, for example, if you can make at least $300 a day in the markets, you can set your max trade limit, or not max trade limit, you can set your max profit to 300, and that'll prevent you from taking any additional trades. Then the third way to prevent blowing your account, OCO orders. OCO orders, or one cancels the other orders, are a way to automate your take profit and stop loss areas. When you enter a trade, you usually have a stop loss, and that's basically telling your broker that you want to exit the trade if it hits that level. A take profit area is the area you're targeting for your profit. What an OCO order does is if you get your take profit area hit, it'll cancel the stop loss order. And if you get your stop loss hit, it'll cancel the take profit order. So that entire process is automated for you. Okay, this is a standard feature available on almost all brokers. This feature is new to TopStep X, but I'm pretty sure it's been on other brokerages for a while. Like I mentioned, they allow you to avoid having to manually cancel orders. Not canceling can cause you to unintentionally enter a trade. This actually happened to me on day 37. If you want to go back and watch that video, I ended the day in the green, but then when I left my home, I came back to see that my account was in the red. And I was thinking, what the heck was going on? But then I looked at TopStep X again, and then I saw that because I had manually set the take profit and stop loss, the market had gone down and my stop loss was hit. So that triggered a sell order. But then when the market went back up, I was in the red. So yeah, OC orders are great. I use them religiously in my trading. I also like them because they allow you to have clear areas to exit a trade and more strict risk management. Because where exactly you're going to be exiting a trade if it works out in your favor and if it doesn't work out in your favor. And then, my advice is to not move the take profit and stop loss areas in general. I know some people like to trail their stop losses, or they like to move the take profits just based on the activity of the market during a trade. And, that's not necessarily a bad thing to do, but I feel like that's something more advanced, and usually it's not that great in my opinion. Personally, more often than not, when I've moved down my take profit areas and won a trade, the market would go in the direction and head to where I had my original take profit. So I was basically losing money by losing my take profit down. And then, if I moved my stop loss and made it wider, then I would end up typically losing more money than I would have if I just left that alone. Not moving your take profit and stop loss areas also allows you to keep your trading more simple. So, in some cases that works. And a lot of people do, in fact, a lot of successful traders do move their stop losses. But in my opinion, I would generally avoid doing this. And, there's a bit more to discuss about OCO orders. So, this is kind of just an introduction. I'm going to make more videos about OCO in the future. But before we do that, I'll just show you very quickly how they look in TopStep X. All right, guys, we're in TopStep X, and I'm just going to show you how I have my risk management settings set up on my account, so you get a better idea of how you can set up for yourself. My risk management settings are pretty standard. I have a personal daily loss limit of $400, and this action is liquidate and block, which means that if this loss limit is hit, then I am out for trading for today. I cannot take any more trades. This maximum trades per day is self-explanatory. I have it set to 2 for now. And then I have my OCO bracket set. As I mentioned, this is a newer feature in TopStep X, but is standard in many brokerages. And this allows you to, place a limit order along with a stop loss and a take profit, as you can see. What I'll do is I'll just move the stop loss and take profit areas whenever I set these OCO brackets, just based on the particular trade I'm doing. Now, I know I have these numbers set up here, but these are kind of just defaults. I have placeholders. Now, you can use the same stop loss and take profit for each trade, but I just move mine based on the trade. And when I say move, I don't mean I continuously move it throughout the trade. I just move it once for each trade. All right. Well, I have a bonus, and that is position sizing. And for position sizing, generally do not change position sizing with each trade. That's a bad habit. In some cases, because what many traders do is when they lose a trade, a first trade, or they're in a drawdown, they want to increase their sizing to get out of the drawdown period. In some cases, it is valid to change your position sizing. If there's more volatility in the market, for example, you don't want to use as many contracts as you would if the market is not as volatile. But generally speaking, you want to keep your position sizing the same with each trade. You can also follow the 1% rule for position sizing for lower risk. And what this 1% rule is that you risk 1% of your total account balance on a trade. There's a lot more that could be said about position sizing, but again, I'm going to cover this in more detail in future videos. I just wanted to provide this brief introduction because you can't really talk about not blowing up accounts and risk management without mentioning position sizing, at least briefly. All right. In conclusion, good trading habits and risk management will lead to long-term growth. It's not always easy to stick with a plan, but patience will win in the end. And even good risk management can still lead to losses and blown accounts. So, even if you manage your risk properly, if you're a beginner, there's still a good chance you'll lose money. If you're experienced, there's still even a good chance you'll lose money. I won't act like I'm an expert, but you need good risk management and you need a good understanding of the market, a good intuition of the market. And that just comes with experience and time studying charts. But if you implement all of the procedures that I mentioned to prevent you from quickly ruining your account and but costing you a lot of money, you should be on your way to steady profit. And once again, good understanding of the market and good risk management go hand in hand. But this is important regardless of what type of strategy you end up using. All right, guys, thanks for watching. If you made it to the end of this video, man, y'all are some real ones. I hope to publish more interesting videos about the markets in the future. So stay tuned, guys, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks again so much for watching and see you later. Bye.